We pride ourselves, do we not, on the senses which we take to be most closely allied with our intellect: sight and sound. Do you see this? Do you see my point? We'll say. Or we'll say, yes, I hear you, which means I understand, I follow your drift. And we frequently condescend as though they were less important to the lower senses: taste and touch and smell. Shakespeare knows rather better, and it's arguable that so do we when we think of it. In the later part of his career, Shakespeare explores with greater and greater insistency the language of touch, the language of feeling. Lear is perhaps the greatest of all of his plays in working through this sense, though it is powerfully there in the Tempest, for example. And in Lear there is a profound revulsion against the moral situation of being able to understand something, to understand human oppression, to understand human want, and yet not feel it effectively in such a way that we respond to human want and feel our basic connection with other human beings. Toward the end of that play, Lear, there is to me one of the most moving confrontations in all of Shakespeare. Shakespeare so often writes toward the end of his career of the relations between fathers and daughters. And here a father, Lear, who has desperately wronged his daughter Cordelia and favored daughters who do not love him and would have him dead, is in a situation where he has gone mad with grief and anger. His daughter, whom he's wronged, has come to try to save him. She hires a doctor to induce sleep who induces sleep and tries to bring Lear through that rest out of his madness. He awakes and is uncertain as to whether the one who is before him is his daughter or not. He thinks he has died. You do me wrong to take me out of the grave. Thou art a soul in bliss, but I am bound upon a wheel of fire that mine own tears do scald like molten lead. The scalding, the feeling of the hot tears we feel. And then, pray do not mock me. I am a very foolish, fond old man, 80 and upward, not an hour more nor less. And to deal plainly, I fear I'm not in my perfect mind. Methinks I should know you and know this man, yet I am doubtful, for I am mainly ignorant what place this is, and all the skill I have remembers not these garments, nor I know not where I did lodge last night. Do not laugh at me, for as I am a man, I think this lady to be my child, Cordelia. And she, and so I am. And he, in the great line, reaching out, be your tears wet? And touching the face of the one who is his child, feeling whether her tears are wet, he is able, through the wetness of those tears, through touch, to know that she's alive, one of us humans, this side the grave, and that she pities him. In Shakespeare's late plays, he returns again and again to the issue of pity as the criterial human emotion, the one which should bind us to one another in our openness to tragedy. And the question of Cordelia is arguably the question for us all. Be your tears wet? And if you do not weep at the misfortunes of others, at what do you weep? In his last great play, The Tempest, the language is the same. Ariel, the spirit of the air, says to Prospero, who arguably at this point is still bent on revenge. Ariel observes that if you saw those whom you have brought within your power, your affections would become tender. And Prospero, dost think so, spirit? In short, what are you, a spirit? You who don't have a body. What are you calling me to account? It wasn't your daughter who was set to sea with you to die. It wasn't you put off a throne. Dost think so, spirit? And Ariel replies, mine would, sir, were I human. And there's the question. There's the issue. If we have pity, if in the face of the torments of others, our affections can become tender, we are human. If not, somehow we've stepped beyond the bound. Shakespeare earlier will call it immanity, a huge area of dread and horror beyond the human. And Prospero wills at that point then, effectively, to release his prisoners, to let them be, the last great word of that play, free.